Alright, the last time we let Naggy look after us, but this time, let us reject her. Daga kotowaru. No! I try to sound firm, but my voice is wavering to an embarrassing degree. The words are too big for my throat, and I choke on them. I won't let you look after me. How can I when I don't even know who you are? What do you want from me? I just want to take care of you. I don't believe you. You call me a liar, but I don't think you ever once been honest to me. Who are you anyway? I already told you who I am. Or who you wish I was in any case. Is that more or less the same thing? No, it's not. I can't accept that. I can't accept you. I never asked you to look after me. I never asked for any of this. I never asked for this. Just leave me alone. Let me go. Let you go? Nagi takes another step towards me. The plastic carrier bag she's still gripping shifts, then rustles against her thigh. I'm sorry, Ayumu, but I can't do that. Why not? Because there's nowhere to let you go to. You can't leave. Why else do you think you've been walking for so long? This world won't allow it. No, that can't be true. That's insane. It is, though. Just accept it. You'll be happier that way. Now give me the knife. Leave me alone. Give it to me now. Otherwise, you'll be sorry. I'm sorry already. I'm sorry any of this happened. I'm sorry I ever met you. Just leave me alone. I unstick my soles from the ground, which seem during the last few minutes to have rooted themselves to the carpet, then dash forwards as best I can. I draw back my right hand, meaning to strike a blow against Nagi. I mean to plunge the blade of this knife inside her chest, where her cold, unfeeling heart beats. Ugh. Oh dear, well, don't say I didn't warn you. But my best attempts are all in vain. Nagi's too quick for me. She shifts to one side, avoiding the blade of ease, and drops her shopping bag to the ground. She's too powerful. She's actually a warrior. You know, she can just dodge my attacks so easily. The plastic crinkles. The green-tipped spring onion hits the floor, though the sound of its descent is muffled by the carpet. If Nagi did have any eggs in that bag, a couple of them probably cracked from the force of impact. Not, I suppose, that this matters. I have more important issues to worry about beyond cracked eggs or even spilled milk. Oh fuck. Ugh! Nagi, you! I press my fingers to my stomach. They're shaking. When I move my hand away, I can see, through dazed and half-lidded eyes, that my palm is stained a bright, garish red. There's something embedded inside me, something sharp, which makes my innards twist quite literally with every inhalation. I underestimated Nagi. I didn't know her reflexes were so swift. She's a real gamer, you know? I didn't know she was so strong. She has like a six-pack, you know? I didn't know she'd be able to overpower me so easily. It hurts. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Ugh. I slumped to the ground. My knees hit the carpet in perfect synchrony, with one single muffled thud. Or synchrony or synchrony? I don't know how to say that word. I can't breathe. It hurts more than I thought it would. It hurts more than I can endure. It hurts. Oh, Ayumu. Nagi stands above me. She looks unmoved by my suffering. You really are a silly boy. You have no idea what's good for you. This all could have been avoided if only you listened to me. Ugh. But it isn't too late for you. We can try this again. This is your dream after all. We can repeat this as many times as you want, as many times as it takes. You just need to learn to accept me. Why don't we give that a try? I really do want the best for you, you know. Nagi kneels in front of me. Gently she reaches out and cuts my face with both her hands. I can feel her fingers against my clammy cheeks. They're nice and cool and I sigh against her touch. Her close proximity almost serves to offset the pain of the knife's blade. And I really do love you. It hurts so much, I feel like I'm going to throw up. The carpet is splattered with blood. The front of my shirt and my fingers are deluged in the stuff. I love you when you're working hard to pursue your passions. My chest feels tight. But I love you when you're giving up on everything too, and you just want to cry. I'm still bleeding. Will it ever stop? I love you when you're lying in bed, and you're too sick to stand up. My vision is starting to blur, and I love you when you're slumped on the ground in a puddle of your own blood. I can't feel the tips of my fingers. I love the hard-working, industrious Ayumu, but I also love the scared, shy, awkward, anxious, pathetic Ayumu. I'm going numb. I love all of you. My body listens forwards, but that's alright. I'm not alone. Nagi is here to catch me. She won't leave me. She told me that she wouldn't. I might be an awful liar, but... And I'm never going to let you go. She at least always keeps her word. I promise. Ugh. I'm probably getting the front of Nagi's blouse bloody, but she doesn't seem to mind that. She continues to cradle me, her fingers pressed against the arch of my spine, like I'm an overgrown baby as I twitch. I tremble. Then, a miracle happens. My vision turns black. My lungs spasm in one last desperate gasp, until finally, I'm free. I thought it'd be scary, which is why I trembled so much, but I think I'm getting used to it now. It's really not that bad, not existing. There are worse things you can do than disappear. I open my eyes slowly, groggily, and glance upwards. Oh my god. Okay, and then the game loops. She did say we would try again, so I guess we literally loop back to the beginning, eh? Well, alright, let's go back here. Last time we took a knife. Let's not take anything this time. I think I'd be better off going outdoors empty-handed. I wouldn't want to risk upsetting Nagi. Should she see me with weapon, in any case, I can't think of why I might need one. Why would Nagi want to hurt me? She's supposed to be my girlfriend. If I do see her, I like to think I'll be able to talk things through with her. What would I do with a pair of scissors anyway, much less a knife? I'm not a violent person. I feel faint at the sight of blood. Alright. Okay, and so we meet her again in the hallway. Nagi, please. I think you're lying to me, and that's one thing I simply cannot forgive. Okay, so this is part where we say that we're just stepping out for some fresh air, but obviously we're lying. You've upset me, Ayumu. You've been a very bad boy. A very bad boy. And bad boys deserve to be punished. Nagi, wait! Can we talk about this? I cry at Nagi, but to little avail. I don't think she's listening to me anymore, if she ever was. Did she ever care what I wanted? Nagi's face is mask-like. Her eyes are blank and staring. Two cutouts in her white, featureless face. Her grip on the carrier bag slackens. The bag hits the floor with a dull, almost anticlimactic thud, and then she steps towards me. You promised me you wouldn't leave, Ayumu. You promised. How could you lie to a cute girl like me? How could you? Nagi. I say her name, but it feels like a pointless gesture. I don't think she can be reasoned with. This course was never an option. I have no choice really but to run. I don't know what it is exactly that Nagi means to do to me, but I don't want to stay and find out. Run away! Ah! It's with a desperate gasp that I turn on my heels, almost stumbling in the process. Nagi isn't even moving very quickly, but she's almost upon me already. She's like one of those monsters that chase you in horror games, She just simply walks. And yet, she always catches up to you when you go to like a different room, How is that even possible? Everything seems to be possible here. Reality is contracting about itself, it's compressing. My world is shrinking. My world is this apartment, and the apartment is under Nagi's control. Does that make Nagi the world? What am I then? Can I really escape from her? I don't know, but I have to try. I run through hallway after hallway, pain knifing between my ribs all the while. The walls around me are morphing, they're melting, Wallpaper flakes off in strips around me, as though the apartment is peeling itself like a giant apple. The light fixtures above me blink. They gutter. The world is plunged into darkness before illuminating itself brightly. Too brightly. I blink. White spots burst in front of my vision like fungi. The hallway is undulating. The world is pulsating. It changes so much. With every single step I feel dizzy. It's hard to maintain my balance, especially with Naggy pursuing me. Is she gaining on me? I swear I could feel breath upon the back of my neck, but I know I can't stop to check. I can't turn around. I dash through the beige hallways and blue hallways, garish orange hallways and high-ceilinged hallways. The hallways are all devoid of windows. They twist and they turn like plastered paper painted rabbit warrens. I can't hear much beyond the sounds of my own footsteps, beyond my own heart beating. There's a faint sound in the background like running water, and an omniscient, ever-present hum. Flies? My kitchen was full of them. They hovered about the black rubbish bags which lay decaying upon the floor. I didn't bother to throw the bags away. I didn't try to get rid of the flies. It felt like a pointless endeavor. I endured them instead. I've been enduring a lot recently, but I can't keep doing that. I need to escape. I have no idea how long I've been running. These hallways seem to stretch on forever. I can't make any sense of them. My mind seems to have shrunken during my desperate flight to the size of a walnut. I can't fit any thoughts into my head. They're leaking out of me. I'm coming undone. Still, Naggy continues to pursue me. I don't think she'll ever stop. It doesn't matter how fast I run, she'll find me again. Why wouldn't she? She's my girlfriend after all. She loves me. But why? It's with this question in mind that I finally escape from the maze of hallways which trap me among them. I descend a flight of stairs, the soles of my shoes slapping against every step, then emerge into a large empty space with beige walls and a carpeted floor. I recognize this room. This is the entrance of my apartment building. I need only approach those glass doors at the end, and I'll be able to escape. That's my plan, at least. My jubilation soon runs dry when I approach the exit. The doors are glass and should therefore be transparent, but I can't see anything beyond them. I can't see the street. I can't see the road. I can't even see the sky. Where did the rest of the world go? I approach the doors. They ought to be automatic, but they don't move. Instead, they remain stubbornly shut. Oh shit. So much for that plan. Hey, Ayumu. I can hear Naggy's footsteps behind me, descending the stairs. Her pace is as slow as ever and unhurried. Now I know why she didn't bother running. She knew I wouldn't be able to escape from her. She knew there was nowhere for me to go. What do you think you're doing? Didn't I tell you it was pointless? I open my mouth, but I can't say much more than that. My saliva tastes like ashes on my tongue, and my stomach churns. You don't need to reply to me. Don't bother. I don't want to hear more of your lies. Naggy continues to advance on me, her arms swinging limply beside her. It hurts me, you know, when you run away from me like this. Can't you understand that? Thud, 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 go Naggy's footsteps. Even they sound unforgiving. She's relentless. Let's stop playing silly games. Come back upstairs with me. Let me put you to bed. What were you hoping to gain anyway, by coming down here? Didn't you give up on the outside world already? You must have. Otherwise, you never would have been able to meet me. Something about what Naggy just said strikes a chord within me. I feel like I've been drifting ever since I woke up, but something has clicked into place. I can remember what happened. First, there's the pain. When it hit me, it was intense, so much so I felt like vomiting. For a while, pain was all I knew. It was all my body was. There was a low squeal of tires on tarmac, and the pitter-patter of rain which fell on the damp, glossy road. The smell of oil in the air, and prismatic colors reflected in the puddles scattered about me. There's blood too, an awful lot of it. I hadn't known I had quite so much blood inside me. My temple was cut, my body was crumpled. I could hardly breathe. I didn't want to breathe. People around me were shouting, screaming. Pedestrians clustered about me, stepping through puddles, splashing icy droplets of water about in their wake. Somebody probably called an ambulance. I don't remember that though. This is where everything starts to get hazy. My consciousness began to unravel. Then I passed out. When I finally woke up, hours, or days, or weeks, or months, or centuries later, I was here, in this facsimile of my apartment, with Naggy sitting next to me. She said she was my girlfriend. I doubt that though. I never had a girlfriend before, and now I'll never get a chance. I was hit by a car. I should be dead. What's going on? You couldn't handle the real world, Ayumu. It was too much for you. There was a lot of pressure on you to perform, from your parents, and from your professors, and from yourself. It all became too much. You're delicate, so you got scared. You were afraid you would break. So you decided to run away from it all. No! Yes, you did. You know you did. You know what you are. Nagi takes another step forward until her nose is almost brushing against mine. She reaches out. You're a coward. Then, her white slender fingers seize my neck. Ugh. Reality distorts the moment she touches me. Static hums inside my skull. My head feels like it's going to split apart. My body, sapped of all energy, listens to one side. My head hits the carpeted floor with a thud, just like it did on the roadside, and stars explode behind my eyelids. I blink. I don't know how much time has passed, but when I finally come to, I see that Nagi is sitting on top of me. She's pinning me in place against the threadbare carpet, her thighs cinching my body in place upon the floor. The fingers of both her hands are wound about my throat, and her eyes are trained upon mine. Kinky. But anyway, no. Just ruining the mood. The grasp she has on my neck is painful, but I think the soulless, empty look in those wide, tunnel-like eyes of hers is even more so. I can't writhe away from her. I can't escape from her. She has me immobilized so effectively, she might as well have driven nails into my palms. Just give it up, Ayumu. Nagi speaks calmly, despite the violence of her actions. She sounds hollow, empty. People like you can't survive in the real world. You weren't made for it. You're too sensitive. Every failure felt like a knife to your throat, and every single setback made you want to cry. Nagi's fingernails bite into my skin. It hurts. You kept picking yourself up as best you could, but eventually enough was enough. You're weak, like I said, so your enough came before most people would. You couldn't keep going. Nagi's eyes are so big I feel like I could drown in them. But there's no shame in that. You already recognize your limitations. That's why you did what you did. You don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you about your failures. You know about them already. Nagi. Nagi's long, fair hair is brushing my cheek. It tickles. Why are you doing this? You should know that already. My answer is the same as it's always been. I'm doing this for your sake. Mine? Yes, yours. I think you'll be happier this way. And deep down, I know you think the same. Otherwise, you never would have stepped out into that busy road. Isn't this what you wanted? Is it what I wanted? Don't know. I don't remember. I don't think I want to remember. My thoughts are all a blur, but Nagi's words have jostled something in my memory. She said I walked into the road. It can't have been an accident then. It was something I did on purpose, and that isn't something a happy, well-adjusted person does. I haven't been happy or well-adjusted in a long, long time. I was trying to forget about that. I wanted to forget about it, but it's all coming back to me. I can remember what I did. I remember who I am. I'm Sato Ayumu, a second-year student at a small, relatively unimpressive university in Tokyo. I've always been quiet, so I've never been very good at making friends. I didn't have any friends, in fact, at university. My first year was lonely, but I still attended my lectures. I still got my essays done, and I completed my end-of-year exams. I did what was expected of me, and when my parents called me, which they often did, to check up on me, I told them everything was fine. I said I'd been having fun, but that was a lie. I was tired and stressed and overwhelmed more often than not, and I was sad with it, because everyone else seemed to be enjoying themselves, but I wasn't. I didn't know how to enjoy myself. It was part way into my second year that I gave up on everything. Going to my lectures stopped feeling like a worthwhile endeavor. It didn't make me feel happy. I didn't think anything could have cheered me up beyond human interaction, but that was impossible. I was too awkward. I didn't know what to do, so I retreated in on myself. I shut myself away inside my apartment because that was easier than going outdoors. It was easier than making an effort to change. I didn't take out the rubbish so it overflowed. I didn't clean up my apartment so it started to stink. I opened the windows during the summer when it was so hot and muggy, I felt like I was melting simply lying down in my bed, but that let the flies in. I rarely brushed my teeth, barely showered, and hardly ever changed my clothes. There wasn't anything I wanted to do, so I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't speak to anybody. I just lay in bed for days on end, scrolling through the internet on my phone or on my laptop and reading through some of my favorite light novel series. I had no plans, obligations, or responsibilities. This absence of external stimuli should have cheered me up, and for a few days it did. A knot of anxiety, which had been my near constant companion through my time at university, began to lessen. Finally, I felt for the first time in a long while I could breathe, but the air, when I breathed it in, stank of rancid food and my own unwashed body. My eyes began to sting, and my head pounded. I got headaches all the time back then. Maybe it was because of the smell. It was putrid. I'm surprised the people living in the apartments across the hall didn't complain about me. In time, my abundance of time began to feel more like a curse than a blessing. There were too many hours in the day and I didn't know how to fill them. Without lectures or essays to worry about, I had no idea what I was supposed to do with myself. Until I reread Tsuchimi's Rui's Forest. That was when I hit upon the idea of writing a story of my own. A story set in a fantasy universe bearing some similarities to Forest, but of my own devising. I've had an idea for the Crimson Fantasia for a while. I've toyed with the idea of writing it, but I always managed to talk myself out of it. I thought it'd be a repeat of my time spent trying to blend in with everyone else at university, that my best efforts would all be in vain. Nobody cared about me during the day-to-day in the real world. Why would anybody care about my stories either? Telling it seemed pointless, but I had so much time, I had to do something with it. I suppose that's why I started to write Crimson Fantasia. I didn't have anything better to do. I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote, like a man possessed, and I soon realized once I began that writing was a pretty fun way to while away the hours. It made the days pass by more quickly. It gave me a real sense of purpose. I hammered out most of the details about Crimson Fantasia's plot and characters already, so I didn't hit any major stumbling blocks. I didn't have to scramble to think up ideas, and had to sit there agonizing while I wondered where the story should go. I already knew most of that. I just need to get the story out of my head onto my laptop in a format other people could experience. I wanted other people to experience Crimson Fantasia too. I put enough effort into it, so much so, keeping it to myself would seem like a waste. I repurposed this old blog I've had ages ago, back during high school, into a place to upload Crimson Fantasia. I upload my story chapter by chapter, sometimes updating thrice weekly, and I waited, my breath bated, to see what sort of responses I'd get. I wasn't expecting miracles, of course. I didn't genuinely think, despite my daydreams, that Crimson Fantasia would attain the same level of critical and commercial success as Forest. Who was I in comparison to Tsuchimi Rui? Nobody, really. I was just a university dropout with an overactive imagination. I told myself, when I first began to share Crimson Fantasia, that I'd be happy if only 1 or 2 people read it. They didn't even need to leave any comments on it. I just want to know my story was out there, in the world, that a few people knew it existed and liked it. That would legitimize my efforts. It would prove that writing it wasn't a waste of time after all. My desires were fairly humble, or so I thought, and within the first days of posting Crimson Fantasia's first chapter to my old blog, they were actually exceeded. Crimson Fantasia's first chapter was viewed 42 times and received comments, 3 of them in fact. Wow. Amazing. I can't remember the two of these 3 comments. They were vague words of support, very brief and perfunctory, but I remember the third. I'll never forget it. That was the first comment I ever received from Nagiko. The feedback, I've always thought of Nagiko as a girl, was far more in-depth than that which the other 2 commenters had left. She typed up several paragraphs exploring her feelings toward the story, its setting, and its characters. She praised the oppressive atmosphere of the story, and how much detail I got into when rendering Haru's personality. Nagiko said she thought Haru was a pitiable sort of a character, but she found him compelling. She promised me she'd be waiting for the future chapters eagerly, because she couldn't wait to see how Haru would develop. She wanted him to use his second lease of life to become stronger, and she wanted him to be happy too. Naturally, I was elated that my story had promised such an emotional response from one of his readers, and such a lengthy one at that. You know, as I'm reading this, I don't like, what was that meme? It's like, I'm in this story and I don't like this. Anyway, I feel like this is very relatable to a lot of people, when you make anything, when anyone makes anything on the internet and shares it, for the first time. But anyway, I thought about that review for days afterwards. Whenever it crossed my mind, I smiled. It was Nagiko's early support that encouraged me to keep working on Crimson Fantasia. I reworked the earlier chapters, which had yet to publish, polishing and polishing until they shone. I began to make some changes too to the later chapters, placed more of a focus back on Haru's struggles as he traversed the world of Grimoire. I posted new chapters semi-regularly, and Nagiko commented on all of them. Sometimes it took her a day or two to leave me a mini-review, but she always did it. She was as reliable as clockwork. She gave me regular feedback for months on end, 2 months on end, in fact, during which I uploaded almost 50 chapters of my sprawling magnum opus. I didn't do anything during these months beyond writing Crimson Fantasia. I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, fueled by Nagiko's praise. But this idyllic period didn't last forever. These things never do. It was on chapter 53 of Crimson Fantasia that Nagiko stopped leaving me feedback. 1 day passed, and 2, then 3, and still, Nagiko said nothing about the newest chapter. Well, I tried to tell myself, these things happen. Maybe she's busy. I didn't know a thing about Nagiko's life, but I knew she'd have one beyond Crimson Fantasia. She could have been working night shifts. She could have been studying for exams. She could have been on holiday. I told myself to be patient, and I waited. A week passed. 2 weeks passed. Eventually a month passed, but Nagiko still did not leave a comment on chapter 53 of Crimson Fantasia. I read more chapters in the interim and published them, but Nagiko did not give me feedback on any of these either. Neither did anybody else. I put a huge amount of effort into rendering the world of Crimson Fantasia, but nobody seemed to care, not even Nagiko. For 3 months of my life, I did nothing but work on Crimson Fantasia, and to what end? It had been forgotten about. Nagiko stopped caring about Grimoire, about Haru, and about his adventures. She, who had been my most arduous, steadfast supporter, drifted away from my world, and from me. I think that realization is what broke me. I stopped caring about my characters. I stopped caring about my story. I stopped caring about myself too, which is probably why I did it. I stepped out in the middle of the road, just like Haru in the first chapter of Crimson Fantasia, and also like Haru, it was not a mistake. Isekai in real life, except you shouldn't do that. Anyway. Well, that's what happens when you tie your own, creativity and your own work onto like others', expectations. You should really do things for your own sake rather than for others, Otherwise you end up you end up depressed, basically, when people don't interact with your work. Oh well. My actions were cold and calculated. I probably caused the driver of the car who hit me untold trauma, but I didn't care about them. I was only thinking about myself. I just wanted to escape. You wanted to be happy, right? Well, you can forget about that. You'll never be happy in the real world. People are thoughtless and selfish, and they only ever think about themselves. That's true, but that's human nature, isn't it? That includes yourself. You can't expect Nagiko to comment on your every single chapter of your little web novel. So in a way, we're being selfish too, but isn't that just how people are? Anyway, they don't know how hard life is for you. And even if they did, they wouldn't care. Nagiko didn't care, but I do. I'm better than she is. That's why I should stay here. Nagi's fingers are gripping my throat tightly enough to burn, but her hair is, by contrast, very soft like a lover's embrace. She said that she loved me, but I still have my doubts. What is that love based on? After all, you're not Nagiko, then I'm not, no. You never did pluck up the courage to speak to her, though you really, really wanted to. You did fantasize about it a lot, though. You wanted to talk to her, didn't you? You wanted her to be a pretty homey girl who would support you, not just with your writing, but with the rest of your life. How pathetic. Anyway, you wanted her to cook for you, to clean for you. You didn't want her to leave you. You thought with every message that she sent you, that she sent you, that she might one day fall in love with you. And that's why you created me. Aren't I your ideal woman? Aren't I your anime waifu? Isn't this what you wanted? I open my mouth, perhaps meaning to counter, but Nagi interrupts me. Don't try to argue with me, please. It's a waste of your breath. And that's a precious resource you can't really afford to waste. I know what it is you want. I know everything that you think. You can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to me. What? Then that means... I stare at Nagi with such intensity, my eyes threaten to escape their sockets. I can't see my own face, which is probably a blessing. But I wouldn't be surprised if my skin is beginning to turn blue. It's hard to breathe, but I still try. I need to know, before I succumb to Nagi's aggressive affection, what exactly she is. Is any of this real? Well, that depends on your definition of the word. I'm sure it feels real enough at the moment, but your judgment might not be the best. You did lose a lot of blood. Your thoughts must be all jumbled. I'm sure this has all been very confusing for you ever since you woke up. I know this world isn't quite the same as the one you're used to. Nagi's fingers are still wrapped around my throat. She hasn't relented at all. If anything, she might be squeezing me even harder. Is she trying to prove her love to me? If so, the love is pretty intense. But if this is a dream, why fight against it? Reality is no good. That's why you started writing stories. You couldn't cope with the world, so you had to retreat into your own. You couldn't control your own life, but you could control the lives of your characters. You never had to feel anxious or unsure when you were writing because it was all predictable. You planned everything out. You were content with that for a while. But in the end, you got greedy. You wanted more than a made-up happiness. You wanted somebody to love you. You tried to endure your loneliness as best you could, but everybody has a breaking point. You couldn't keep going. Please, make it stop. So you tried to put an end to it. It hurts too much. You tried. I can't keep enduring this, but you failed. You made a mess of things, just like you made a mess of everything. Nagi, please. But that's alright. I still love you, no matter how much you screw up. I love you no matter how pathetic and pitiful you are. I love you while you're still clinging to life, and I'll love you even after you've died. I'll always love you, Ayumu, like nobody else can. I don't have any choice in the matter. I was born to be in love with you. It hurts so much. I thought I already died once, so why? So why don't you let me do that? Stay with me, Ayumu. I'll take good care of you. Nothing will ever, ever hurt you again. All you need to do is obey me. Don't fight me. You don't want to break my heart, do you? Nagi. My vision is beginning to blur. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It hurts. But Nagi said she was going to take care of me. If I agree to stay with her, will she let me go? Will she make the pain go away? I don't want to hurt anymore. I'm tired of hurting. I've been hurting for such a long time and nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Nobody but Nagi. It's not like I can fight her off anyway, even if I wanted to. There's nothing I can do but surrender. Nothing I can say except, alright. I won't try to escape again, I promise. Oh, Ayumu. Nagi sighs at this, almost breathlessly, her violet eyes filling as she speaks of emotion. Does that mean you're gonna stay with me? Yes, that's right. I'll stay with you. Forever? If you want, I'll always be by your side. I promise. Oh, Ayumu. Nagi bends down. She's still straddling me, her thighs either side of my chest, and her fingers are still wound about my throat. Now, however, her attempted strangulation seems almost like a gesture of affection. Her fair hair coils against my cheek. It brushes against my skin. Her lips purse, and softly she says, I'm so happy to hear you say that. I'll take really good care of you, so please, don't worry. You'll never have to feel like a failure ever again. I'll never make you feel scared or sad. Pour everything into me. Nagi's fingers tighten around my throat, and let it all go. My vision, which is already blurry, starts to skew. The world is running, like it's being viewed through a damp, watery window pane. My head is aching. My whole body hurts, but I can forget that when I'm with Nagi. She sifts, I keep saying sift, she shifts atop me. She leans in even more closely, her lips pursed. Then, she kisses me. Her lips impress themselves upon mine, even gentler than falling snow, as her fingers continue to form a ring about my neck. Her eyelids begin to fall shut, bit by bit. And with one last sigh, I finally surrender myself to Nagi. I let her love consume me. My mind seems to enlarge, it expands, and then it collapses. My body gives one last, fitful jerk. Ayumu! Oh God, Ayumu! And then everything goes black. Alright. Man, I mean, that one explained a lot though. So yeah, basically, I mean, it's very relatable. But yeah, like it's a guy that like was stressing out over university, didn't make a lot of friends. It's very common. I mean, especially in Japan, right? It's like there's like a hikikomori like phenomenon, right, where people just have a lot of social anxiety and just hold themselves at home, but it's not very healthy, right? Because obviously he was depressed, right? So he didn't clean up after himself and things like that, and then he got obsessed with like writing something because the one time he got like some kind of like some kind of like positive feedback was this one person on the internet, but like again it just ends up being not healthy, even more so because he got obsessed with it. It became an obsession, became something that it became a lifeline basically, which again not a very healthy thing to just like put your whole soul into like just one thing, because that one thing might not be there forever, right? So anyway, man, it's depressing. Let's see. All right, so we're back here. We have an option to take a weapon. Let's take the scissors this time. Taking the scissors might be my best bet after all. I should be able to conceal them fairly easily, and the blade should still be sharp enough, if push comes to shove, to defend myself. I'm hoping it won't come to that, of course, but it never hurts to be prepared. I'm just taking the precautions necessary against an unknown enemy. That doesn't mean I'll actually use these scissors, though. Don't worry about it. I hope I don't have to. It's with shaking fingers that I reach for the scissors, which lie in their pot, innocent and unassuming in their state of disuse, on the kitchen counter. I clasp them, claim them, and slide them into my pocket. I feel the blades impressing themselves against my thigh, even through the fabric of my trousers. They're cold and unforgiving, as weapons tend to be, designed for no purpose beyond cutting. With some luck, they should be able to cut my connection with Nagi too. My decision made, I approach the front door. Alright. And wow, that was a long skip. All the way back here. So basically what happened last time when we didn't bring a weapon, where she's choking us out and we kind of learned the truth of our predicament, right? Again, very depressing. I don't know I need to say much more on that, but this time we have scissors. I can't abandon her, can I? Ah, okay, we have a choice this time. I imagine if we choose we stay with Naggy, the same thing happens, but, well, let me see. Let me see what happens. Yeah, okay, same thing. Same thing happens if we choose to stay, so it's the same ending. So, if you choose stay with Naggy, we get the same ending as before. We submit to her, weird, like, well, it's like our desires, really, right? It's just a reflection of our own desires. Because this whole thing was just like a dream, right? It's our own dream that I guess we're having as we're dying, basically. Because we got hit by a car, and, you know, it's kind of like wish fulfillment, but it's also like unhealthy at the same time. And obviously the main character knows this, and that's why it's manifested in this way. He's also fighting against like his own like unhealthy obsessions. But this time, let us fight Naggy. Let us not succumb to this like, you know, to this desire. Giving in to Naggy's demands will be the easy option, but I don't think it's the right option. I've been doing what's easy for the last few months, and it hasn't made me happy. If anything, it's only succeeded to make me feel even more miserable. I thought it'd be better if I kept away from people, but I'm starting to doubt that. I don't want to stay indoors anymore, hiding from the world, and making like an imaginary world in my head, you know? I don't want to run away from reality. I thought I was ready to throw my life away. I was wrong. I don't want to die. I don't want to disappear. There's still a lot I want to do. I want to tell my parents how much I appreciate them. I want to dry my mother's tears. I want to write more words too, even if nobody's there to read them, not even Nagiko. She might have lost interest in Crimson Fantasia, but I haven't. I don't want to betray my dreams. I don't want to betray my characters. I have to keep struggling, just like Haru. And it's this thought which spurs me to take an action quite unlike any Haru would ever take. He's a gentleman, so he would never hurt a girl. But I have no such compunctions of Naggy. None of her fingers wound around my throat. If she's not going to play nice, I won't either. It's not like it matters that much anyway. Naggy isn't real. I made her up. She's a construct. Just like Haru and Aris and Harmonia, I put them through a lot worse. I made them suffer horribly for the sake of Crimson Fantasia's story. I can do the same with Naggy. I won't let her stop me. My fingers creep surreptitiously to my pocket where my scissors are stashed. My eyes narrow with determination. And then... Ayumu, what are you? I strike. I pull the scissors from my pocket as quickly as I'm able, then thrust them upwards. The scissors plunge into Naggy's cheek, and like a banshee, she shrieks. Naggy stumbles back, one hand claps around her face. Naggy's shoulders are convulsing. Red, sticky blood is seeping between her splayed fingers. It drips against the carpeted floor like falling rain. Drip, drip, drip. Naggy's fingers are slick with the stuff. It might as well be strawberry jam. Her face, however, is ghostly white, the same color as flour. Her chest rises and falls erratically beneath her blouse. Aghast, she glowers at me and says, "You'll regret this, Ayumu. How could you? How could you?" I only did what I had to do. My voice is remarkably calm, despite the adrenaline that's coursing through my body. I wipe my scissors down on my shirt, then get to my feet. I look down at Naggy, who slumped on the ground, still bleeding, and say, "Don't act like you would have done the same to me. You were trying to choke me." "I was trying to help you." "Yes, I know. That's what you thought. But staying here isn't helpful. I'll never get anything done like this." "You hypocrite. You were the one who shut yourself away here in the first place. That's what you wanted. I wanted to make your dreams come true. Everything I did for your sake, and this is how you repay me. How could you?" "I'm horribly heartless, I know, but I still don't think I owe you anything. I mean, you're not really my girlfriend, are you? You're just a phantom I created." Naggy might have taken on the form of a cute girl, but she's nothing more than a shadow. She's my shadow, The true self, you know? Anyway. Sorry, I know you meant well, but this... I look around the apartment foyer at the flickering lights and the flashing exit sign. This isn't what I want anymore. I might have given up on my goals, my ambitions, and even my stories, but the real Nagiko is still out there. She told me she wanted to read the rest of Crimson Fantasia, so I can't disappoint her. I want to give it a satisfying conclusion for her sake. But she doesn't care about you, Ayumu, not like I do. She abandoned you. Maybe she did. It's alright though. I don't need her approval to keep writing. I don't need anybody's approval. I still want to keep going. I want to finish what I started, at the very least, and that means I can't let things end here. So, you're going back? You're going to subject yourself to being alone, and to being miserable, in a world you can't stand, to finish off some stupid story nobody else cared about. Yeah, I guess I am. I guess it sounds a little silly when you phrase it like that. But it's not true, you know, that nobody cares about Crimson Fantasia. Nagiko doesn't. Or maybe she doesn't. I do, though. I'm not so jaded that I've given up, even if you have. I want to see how my story ends. It would be a waste not to. I let my scissors drop to the floor, then glance about. I'm breathing heavily, more so than I have in a long time. It's been a while since I exerted myself like that. It's been a while since I exerted myself in general. I don't often leave my apartment. Is that why I found myself trapped here? In my half-formed, embryonic dreamland? I came over the last few months to associate my apartment with safety. Nobody ever came to visit me, and nobody called me, apart from my parents, and even then, that was sparingly. I didn't have to answer to anybody other than myself. I never held myself accountable for my actions. I didn't want to. I couldn't handle the outside world like Nagi so succinctly said, so I hid from it. By sitting in the same spot, unmoving, I was, in essence, running away. I'm tired of running now, though. I spent too long in this apartment already in the real world. I don't want to be stuck here in my dreams, too. Not with Nagi, who's still bleeding on the floor. Her perforated cheek is still oozing blood which changes colors with the flickering of the lights overhead. Sometimes her blood looks black, at other times it looks bright red. Her lips, meanwhile, are pursed, like a princess's from a fairy tale. She looks like she's waiting for a kiss. I know if I bent down to grant her request, I might be able to take all her pain away. I'm sure that she would forgive me for hurting her. She has no choice in the matter. I'm the one who created her. She's my delusion. Just like Eris and Harmonia. She exists to love me, which is, I suppose, a nice enough fantasy. I can't say I dislike the thought of being doted on by a pretty young girl like Nagi forever and ever. But would it really be satisfying when her love isn't real? This is a daydream I could do without. It's finally time to wake up. Oh boy. Well, we went through a lot of trials and tribulations, but now, I guess it's time to wake up. And that just closes the game. Alright, so that just ends the game. Alright, so I guess the implication when you press wake up, you know, it's kind of meta, right? It's like a meta thing, but like, you wake up and therefore you wake up from this dream, and whatever happens, you know, there's no conclusion, but, you know, you hope that the main character does well for himself, right? After all that, but, you know, it's just up to your imagination. I guess the story itself is up for you to decide. Again, you know, if you're optimistic, I guess you hope that he gets better, right? You hope that maybe when he tried to, you know, commit suicide by being run over by a car or whatever, he ends up in the hospital, you know, he wakes up from his coma, I guess, and, you know, he continues to live his life despite whatever setbacks he had. You know, I like to think that, I mean, this is a very, well, the whole, you know, attempting suicide thing might not be super common. So I guess it happens. But, you know, it's a common thing, right? People just don't know what they're doing with their life, especially when they're young, drop out of university, you know? But, you know, you hope that, what's his name? Ayumu He continues writing. Maybe he turns it into some kind of portfolio, continues to be better at it, or he keeps it as a hobby, who knows. And then he finds a job and then, takes better care of himself. And I feel like the biggest thing, though, is just being okay, with being alone. I feel like is a big thing. I feel like a lot of people in like society they aren't okay with like just being by themselves, right? They always feel like they have to be with somebody else in order to enjoy life. That isn't really the case. I mean, I feel like part of the game is kind of telling you that too, right? Because he was so obsessed with Nagiko, right? And the point where Nagiko doesn't interact with him anymore is when he like snaps. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when you just try to like, make your whole identity just be based on someone else. You shouldn't do that. You should be for yourself, right? Anyway, getting too existential. But yeah, I really like this game. This game was depressing, but like, man, I like a lot about this game. I mean, obviously the whole presentation was like really good. It was definitely unnerving. I like the low percentage meter, obviously. It's more of a narrative device than it is like gameplay, really. But I do like how like, picking certain options will make the meter go up and down and things like that. And it definitely lends the whole atmosphere, really, right? From the very beginning, you feel something is off, right? And the whole game is really based on that tension, like 90% of it. And it's good. I like that. I like how like you never know like what's really going on. It's hinted at like sparingly, but it really isn't revealed until the very end, which is good, right? I like that how, like a lot of horror games, right? It really is like a horror game because a large part of what makes it engrossing is the tension. And this game built the tension very well, I feel like, in my opinion anyway. I also like the different little bad ends you can get, every time you like try to submit to like Naggy, your imaginary GF, the game ends and all that. And that really gives you a really big hint, of what's going on. So it's very interesting. The choices that you can make. I mean, what else? I mean, the writing is good. I feel like I think the developer definitely has a lot of experience writing. I like most of the writing. There's a few typos here and there, but for the most part, I like it. The only complaint, I mean, it's very subjective, really. It feels too much like a book sometimes, which a lot of people might like, actually. I mean, there's a lot of visual novels out there that are pretty much read like books and people love them, So really, I'm the weirdo because when I think of a visual novel, I think more of like an RPG dialogue kind of thing, It's weird. I'm a weirdo, but I like narratives that are like more like a video game, if that makes sense, right? There's a certain tone, I guess, when you write for a video game versus when you write for like a novel, When you write for a novel, I feel like there's certain ways, right? For example, you describe certain things. I mentioned it before, right? How like in the very beginning anyway, there's a bit of descriptions of the stuff that is kind of irrelevant, You could just show it. You don't have like, it's a visual novel, right? You can show the visuals or audio even, right? There's an audio aspect to the game as well, right? So instead of saying, I don't know, the water makes splishy splashy sounds, you could just simply just play the sound of water. You don't have to actually describe it. Unlike in a novel where all you have are words, so you would describe every little thing to establish the scene and everything, but you don't need to do that in a visual novel, in my opinion. Of course, that might not be everyone's, opinion, and it might not fit the developer's style as well. I mean, they might want that kind of style, and sometimes it does work though. And as I mentioned before, sometimes when they describe certain things, especially when reality is like breaking down or being distorted, right, and being hyper focused on like an object, like a knife, I like that part. Sometimes it works, but sometimes I feel like it's unnecessary. At least, again, that's just what I think. But, well, that's just my feedback. I'm trying to be like Nagiko, I always try to be like Nagiko every game I play. Anyway, but again, that's just my opinion. Well, what else do I want to say? The art is good, I like the different facial expressions that you see Nagi in. Kind of creepy as well sometimes, obviously, with certain expressions. And the general like ambience as well is, I think, very fitting. It's very much like very staticky. You know, I mean, always obviously the main menu as well, which again fits the narrative. You know, I always like it when all the elements. You know, a part of designing like any kind of like story or like any kind of like I don't know, like a game, right? Designing a game or like a movie or like a show, whatever it is, a piece of art. You know, it's part of the challenge is designing all of the elements in such a way that fit the message you're trying to, you know, trying to communicate, you know, trying to fit the general message, the general themes, the general, like, you know, feeling you're trying to give to the audience. And I feel like this game does it really well. I feel like, you know, all the elements kind of fit together really well. The visuals, the audio, the writing, you know, I like it. It's really good. Even the design, like the UI, you know, you see like the weird eyeball thing, you know, it's like, it's very surreal. I think it fits very well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is just really good. Very good horror game. And I have no complaints about the story as well. You know, it does, you know, kind of end like sort of like a cliffhanger, but like it fits, right? It's like, because all of this was just a dream. So the idea is that because it is a dream, once the character wakes up, that's when the story ends. But it kind of leaves on an optimistic note. At least I feel like anyway. So I think leaving it to your imagination, even if it's a little ambiguous, is a good thing, because, you know, the good ending is kind of implied, right? So I think that's good enough. You know, it might not even be like a good ending, you know, it might more like a bittersweet ending, really. You know, because even if the character, the protagonist, you know, Ayumu, even if he comes to this revelation where, you know, as I was saying, right, when you make something, you should like do it for yourself, and, you know, you shouldn't like try to like be at the whims, you know, of someone else and everything. I feel like that's kind of like a metaphor too, right? It's kind of like this naggy, like toxic relationship kind of thing. That's kind of like a metaphor for like that too. Like he grows from that, right? Which is a good thing, but it might not be like smooth sailing, right? Because he's a university dropout, right? So that's kind of bad. And like, how much debt does he have to pay? You know, so that's what I was thinking. It's like, I mean, he lives in Japan. I don't know the student debt situation in Japan is. I'm not sure, but usually it's a lot. Unless you live in a country where, you know, student tuition is paid for, which I think is, a lot of European countries have that, I think, which is crazy to me. Normally here in North America, you pay for your tuition. You know, you take a loan and you pay for it. It sucks, by the way. You think, you know, education would just be like a normal thing that you don't have to pay for. At least, you know, personally. I mean, obviously there's taxes. I mean, we're getting political here, but, you know, the taxes overall would be, you know, less, right? Because we spread the cost. Anyway, what else would I say? But yeah, this game is really good. I don't know how I feel about the title though. I mean, I guess it kind of fits. You know, girlfriend simulator. I mean, you know, it'd be funny. This game would actually probably got more exposure when there was that trend where everybody was calling everything a simulator, right? Like there was that whole trend, like, I don't know, like a few years ago, I feel like. So I feel like this title is not very timely, but it would have fit actually, you know, if it was released during a time when everything was called a simulator, right? Like even when simulators weren't really simulators, it's kind of a joke, really. Like Goat Simulator or something like that, right? This game would fit because it would fit that trend of like, hey, it's a girlfriend simulator. It's actually not. You know, it's actually just a horror game of like a girlfriend that's like kind of horrible, like a monster, really. Which, to be fair, I mean, she isn't that much of a monster, really. She isn't like, at least the way she was presented, actually. I was expecting her to go more yandere, you know, a little bit more yandere, but she doesn't go too much yandere, really. It's actually kind of like, she's kind of like a soft yandere, you know? She doesn't murder you, for the most part. Except for that one ending where she chokes you to death. But, you know, other than that, you know, she's more like threatening, you know? She's more like intimidating rather than like, she literally stabs you in the face or like, you know, tortures you and stuff. For the most part, actually does help you. But obviously that's a bad thing, considering the context of the story, you know, because she's trying to keep you in this, like, I guess, dream world. Anyway, yeah. Again, I mean the whole dream world as well. Speaking to that as well, I like that aspect too. I always like the idea of like exploring a character's psyche, you know, in like a dream. It's interesting to me. I don't know. It's just like like you have the creativity to be like as surreal as you want because it is a dream, and also like very much a lot of like psychological aspects as well. You can add into the game, right? And I don't know. The only part that I felt the game might lose some people is definitely when he goes on the whole like monologue about his life. You know, he's basically complaining about his life. You know, to be fair, about like how boo-hoo my life sucks. But I don't know. I found it relatable. Me personally, I found it kind of relatable. I find a lot of people might find it relatable too. So like, I didn't feel that part was that bad, but I feel like it might lose some people. I'm not sure. I know that sometimes when games try to do that, it's like, you know, here's my tragic backstory. You know, here's a whole bunch of exposition. My tragic backstory. Feel bad for me, please. You know, that's when I feel like I lose my investment in the story sometimes. But I must say this game, at least again, in my opinion, I think this game did it well because it ties into the main mystery of the whole narrative, right? Like, why is he like this? Why is he this way? You know, why is the world like this? Why is everything not real? It all goes back to his life, right? And then how he felt depressed and things like that. So it does fit, right? In my opinion, anyway. It's like, you know, again, it's all about design, right? I feel like if it fits to the main theme of the game, then I think it makes the game better, right? It makes the story flow better. Anyway, I'm basically praising this game. Now I'm acting more like Naggy now. I'm just praising this game. There's really no complaints, really. Just a few typos here and there. That can be fixed easily. Other than that, this was a very enjoyable experience, you know? So again, I really love the existential, like psychological aspects of it. It's very tense game as well, because you never know, you know something's wrong, but you don't know exactly what, you know, until the very end. Man. This was a very good visual novel, I would say. Anyway, enough rambling. I guess I'll just say that was it for Girlfriend Simulator. We did it. We simulated a girlfriend. Hooray. I guess if you didn't know, if you're on YouTube, I stream these games live on Twitch, so check me out over there if you're interested. I also have other playthroughs on the channel, so you can look for those if you want. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you then.